Welcome, listener. My name is B. Halligan. I'm a priestess of Ceridwen and a priestess of Avalon, and I live in Glastonbury, Avalon. And today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about being a reader and reading what you're seeing. I have a new deck that I absolutely adore. The artwork is by Lily Moses, and it is stunning. It is so detailed, but it's also very gentle. These days we have a lot of AI images, a lot of technically made images, and they just don't resonate with me. I can't really feel the energy of what they're supposed to be saying. And this one is called Angels and Ancestors Pocket Oracle. So first of all, that means that the cards are quite small, and you can take them wherever you want, but also Angels and Ancestors, that's what intrigued me, not just the images, but the actual title. Now, until a few years ago, I would have told you that I don't do angels. But you see, the thing is, angels don't care whether you do them or not. When you're a priestess, you are a vessel, and the vessel doesn't matter whether there's milk in it, or wine in it, or water in it. Whatever comes through, or whatever comes, we receive it. So this is the universe's little joke, that somebody who is really quite damaged by Christianity and doesn't really like a lot of Christian stuff would be contacted by the angels. And I won't bore you with the details how it happened, but these days what happens is that I see the numbers, Pythagorean numbers, 12, 12, 11, 11, 13, 13. I had that 3 times this week alone. So then you look and see what that actually means. And it does mean that somebody is contacting you from the other realm. And to me, it means that we are being contacted by the angels. So I wanted to do a little reading for you with this new deck. I really love this new deck. It's great. And there is a lot of big questions coming up for most of us as we are going into the last 6 weeks of the light half of the year, and then we're turning back to the dark half of the year. There is a lot of unidentified, unworked with stuff that's coming up. It seems that this light half has rushed away. We've rushed through it, and now we are facing the darkness again. And I know 6 weeks sounds like a really long time, and I know we've got the summer coming up, but the fact is that it is our subconscious, our unconscious, that is already feeling that restriction, is already feeling that part of it. So please allow me to tell you a little bit about these cards and tell you a little bit about what came up for me as we are going along. So what I do is I shuffle the cards. I set the intention while I'm shuffling the cards. I think that's the same with every reader. And then what I do is I set out 5 different packs. So I cut the pack in 5 different directions. So there is earth, air, fire, water, east, west, south, north. And then there is the center, which is spirit, which is the signifier or the direction into which they are asking you to move forward into. So the first thing I needed to hear was that I had a direction guardian. Now I like that. I need a direction guardian. I'm a little bit of a loose cannon without a direction guardian. And it said, choose your path. And this has been something that I have been struggling with for the last 6 to 8 months now. What is my path? Where am I going to? Part of me really would like to retire, put my feet up, play with my grandchildren. And what we did the other day, it's 0404. Sorry. What we did the other day is in the Ceridwen crew, very often people see Ceridwen as the crone. We don't necessarily do that. We see her as a mother, because the last that we hear from her as she's on this earth is she gives birth to Taliesin and then sends him into the world. That's not the actions of a crone. So for the longest time, we hold on to the mothering, and we're always mothering. No matter how old you are, how young you are, you're always mothering. And then we're moving towards the queen, where we suddenly have no responsibility for people in our lives, that we are actually allowed to unfold, blossom into something that is really important to us and that we have been meaning to do for the longest time. So this direction guardian is saying to me, connect with your deepest desires. Then choose a path that will make your heart and soul sing. So the question is, will me being retired and just doing the occasional bits and pieces for people make my heart sing? We will see. It is basically that I need to understand which direction we are going on. And it's not just north, south, west, east, up, down, left, right. There are a myriad of multidimensional directions in which we can go. And the question is, what are the angels asking me where to go, what to do? What are they asking all of us to do? And I know that over the recent months I've talked a lot to people who are also spiritual guidance and leaders in their community, and a lot of them are talking about, finding people very difficult to choose which way to go, what is right, what is wrong. So we are at a crossroads. And we don't know which way to go. And we've been on that crossroad for a long time, probably since COVID, most of us. And it seems to be really important, instead of just hanging out and rushing around and doing our thing, it seems to be really, really important to all of us to not move until we know which way to go. Because of the fear of mortality that we had during COVID, because of the lockup. And it's interesting, isn't it, that 2020 was the most beautiful spring and we were all locked up and couldn't go places apart from crowded supermarkets and work. But this spring has almost healed part of that, because it has been a beautiful spring and we've been allowed to roam, and a lot of us have done that. So we need to see the bigger picture. That's what we are asking for. What is going to happen in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? What is best for everyone involved? And we are asking them to show us who we are. And to be quite honest, most of us don't realize that at all times we are at least our inner child, at least we are our inner maiden or young man, or at least we are the mother. We're like Russian dolls, we're always all the parts of us that we've always been. So the question is, would we recognize a guardian angel if it came across us, whether that is in numbers, symbols, signs, whether it is in images? Very often we see an image and then we see it again and then we see it again, and then we realize, hold up, something is important here. We need to have a look at this. We need to understand what we are looking at. None of our paths is set in stone. I don't necessarily believe. I believe we all have a soul contract, but I don't believe that everything is set in stone and we all have to do the same thing. There are no expectations from the people who guide us, from the beings who guide us, I should say. We shouldn't have expectations of ourselves. There are so many directions that we can take, and we don't have to say it's black and white, it's either that or that or that, it's either darkness or light, it's either glass half or glass half full. So it's really about opportunities to grow, to learn, that everything that comes into our life is important, even if we sort of dismiss it at first. Everybody that comes into our life is really important. Life is to be enjoyed and savoured. So every day, like today, I'm sitting here in my beautiful caravan and I'm just watching the birds flying all over me, and I'm savouring this time that I have with you. And even if there is a decision to be made, and even if you are feeling a little bit indecisive because you can't really choose the path you know is going to make you light up, because it's not evident, it's not obvious, then just hold your heart and choose with your heart. Just choose with your heart. So that was the card for the East, for our dawn. Some people call it the fire, some people call it the air, depending on which tradition you follow, or you choose your own. The card next to it now, to the right, which would be the south, east, south, west, north, this is about spring. Now, it's interesting. We've just had spring and we've just seen the enormous growth. And it is about seeing our seeds grow. It's about seeing what we've planted beginning to grow. So as we're coming into the early summer now, all of the things that you have planted are now starting to throw little green tendrils, starting to climb towards, from the dark earth towards the light sky. And you are realizing that you are being successful with what you're growing. It is still tender tendrils, but the fact is they are visible over the or under the earth now, over the earth now. And it's time, because it is exciting, because there's so much potential. All the animals are now out and all the animals are now courting. I have got amazing amounts of corvids in my garden in Glastonbury. And very often we have crows, rooks, we have got jackdaws, we've got ravens coming in, and it is enormous fun to watch them court and make love to each other. And we see all the blossom at the moment. This season is called the blossoming. Beltane is the blossoming. It is absolutely stunning. The hawthorn, the rowan, the elder, all of them are flowering and ready to be gathered so that we may make medicine out of them. For us, on this card, the important part is the wild hare, which is a Celtic animal of medicine that brings intuition and rebirth. Hares are highly fertile and their medicine can bring dreams to life. So it says on Kyle Gray's description. But it's not the biggest issue that I would like to say is I live in Glastonbury and I do walk the land a lot. And I can't even remember when I last saw a wild hare. And whenever I speak to other people about that, and say, look, I've not seen any. Have you seen any? And even the people as far up as Scotland, where there are supposed to be many of them, say that their numbers are reduced. And we have to pay attention to that as human beings. And being a priestess is also being an activist. And what we're doing, which fits in really well with the first card, is that we are ready to bring life to all our ideas, all our inspiration, all our projects. And that when this card appears, we are moving into the space to grow, to expand, and to create in a way that we've never done before. And I do feel that, despite saying I want to retire and I don't want to be responsible anymore, I do feel that creativity, I do feel that creative sap flowing through me. And there are lots of opportunities. Abundance is an abundance of wealth, an abundance of love, an abundance of friends, an abundance of finances. Yes, financial growth is important to most of us right now. And of course, we all are working with the goddess towards creating a community that is self-sustaining. But if we are starting something new, then it's not just the finances. It is actually the major expansion of our soul and of our lives. And it is so important to remember that the future has all possibilities and that it is us who are creating what we need for ourselves. It is important to see what we're getting going forward. And that's why I love doing readings, doing seership. I don't know how people, it's like breath to me. I don't know how people can do without them, but a lot of people do. And what I love best is the synchronicity between the cards that have come out for us today. It is really important that we're now moving from the south over to the west. And in the west, we are going towards the traveller. Now, the traveller, very clearly, move in a new direction. So there's my question sort of answered. I asked the directional guardian, do I stand still? Do I do the things that I've always done? Or am I going to start and expand and do extra, do different things, let go of one thing and allow myself to grow in another direction? And the importance for me often is that I love traveling. I haven't travelled in 5 years due to COVID and due to the birth of my grandchildren, but I'm really looking forward this year, and I made myself a promise that this year I will go and see more of the world, and even if it's just out to Devon or somewhere. But it's not just the outer world in which we grow, in which travel happens. what I have experienced in the last 6 to 8 months is the growth of the inner travel, traveling the inner worlds. Now, I will say that that is partially because of the course I now teach about, doing priestessing in the inner worlds. What Caradun made very clear, what all of the Dark Goddess made very clear, is that thank you very much for all the public service, and thank you very much for bringing us out into the world. We are now out, but now you need to come back in, and you need to start looking at the battle that is going on in the dimensions, in the realms, and that is actually reflected onto the earth. A lot of people think that the strife that we have here on earth right now is to do with, the way that people are getting worse and all of this. But actually, what the goddesses are saying is, no, love, it's a reflection from the chaos that is happening above you, around you, within you. It is the nomadic spirit within me that I often have to feed, that I have to move and go. And, I love living in a caravan. I've got 2 of them. And I withdraw to my wheelie cottage, as I call it, on a regular basis. The opportunity to move in these new directions is now on its way. A lot of us are called further away or called deeper within. Ancestral wisdom is encouraging us to welcome it with open arms. There is a thing about going on a trip. It's an exciting process. It's not just about what we learn new about the world that we're traveling in. We could be coming to the same place over and over again. However, it is how we change our attitudes towards that place, what we learn about ourselves. There is always opportunity to awaken, to understand ever more about the amazing qualities that is within us, that we share with the world. And thankfully, so thankfully, I know a lot of people moan about Facebook and Instagram, and I would never go on TikTok, not for £1 million, and, YouTube. But these are all opportunities for normal people, ordinary people like myself, to decimate some of their knowledge, to talk about what is important to them, and to offer some support that might be needed. When we travel, we can be quite alone. It could feel lonely. But the thing is, are you ever alone with yourself? There's always something to do. There's always something to look at. There's always something to learn. And if we really need that connection with another human being or an animal or whatever, an angel, ancestors, we can just reach out. We can reach out. We have the opportunity to open our mouth and speak. Speak to those who will listen. And I love the road less travelled. Ask anyone who's ever travelled with me, especially my friend Kay, who ended up in the Welsh rainforest with me. I had no idea where I was going, but somehow God has guided us there, so we went. And we got back in one piece. It is travelling in places that you don't know, in places that are on the land, as we call it, are really beneficial for your emotional and spiritual growth. It isn't about how far you go. It could even be within Glastonbury. We have lots of places where we go, where we travel to, that we love, whether we walk or we cycle or we drive with the car. Right outside are the Avalon Marshes, and I go there all the time when I need peace and silence, and when I need to find the balance within myself again. And travel lightly. Don't pack hundreds of things because you think you might need them. Just travel lightly, because it's not necessarily important that you have everything with you. You can always wash a pair of knickers. That's not that bad. You don't need 3-4 suitcases. What you do is you weigh yourself down with stuff that is unnecessary, and that's not going to help you on your journey. In fact, sometimes it's really good to just unpack our satchel and see what you really need. How do we recognize ourselves? I love being encouraged to see how far I've come. I often look back and see the road travelled, and then I see the road in front of me, and I get excited, really excited about moving further and learning more. And along the way, you may make new friends that may become companions for the rest of your life. I'm moving round the circle now. We get to the north, and it is important to know that the north has to do with fresh ideas, with clarity, with silence, with the air that we breathe for those of us who work with Avalon, and for other people it is the earth. It is interesting that I've got two guardians. I probably need two. Being the person that I am, I need two people that are directing me. But this one is a really interesting one. It's the mirror guardian. It's a woman looking into the mirror, and the message, how I have had the message for the longest time, and I've actually come across a really interesting mirror that I had to have. And it's interesting, it's a hand mirror. It is far more intimate to look at yourself in a hand mirror when you only see your face and your eyes, and you see every single nuance of who you are. Looking into the mirror, it takes time to reflect. You know, as we are talking about going new directions, it's also important to know which way. If you come to a crossroads, there is left, right, forward, and there is going back. And we don't want to do that, but it takes time to reflect. And I often stand by the crossroads with Hecate, one of our dark goddesses that we work with, and she just says, patience, patience. And she stands there with her torches, and she looks at me with her big dark eyes, and she says, just take your time, feel into it. Where do you want to go? When you get to a certain age, like myself, you realize that there is not that meandering now. You have to know where you're going. There is not that time to just wander around and be lost. And it is important that we reflect on our strengths and our weaknesses, and on the challenges and on our successes, and how far we have come. There's that how far have you come again, and recognize and celebrate the gifts that you've been given. We are all good at something. Nobody is a complete failure. We may not always accept and embrace what we are given, but it is important that we listen. We accept ourselves. When there's a challenging time, the angels hold us in the highest esteem. And I think you need to hear that again. The angels, the guardians, the goddess, everyone around us, the dragons, the fairies, whomever you believe in, unicorns, they all hold us in the highest esteem because we have chosen to walk the path. The mirror guardian is a female angel, and it is looking into the mirror of life and invites you to witness your journey, to come to your spiritual strength and beauty, to see yourself in the divine that you are. Becoming awakened, becoming, with it, so to speak, and being aware of what's going on in the world is a challenge. We have come so far. The mirror represents the fact that we all have our core beliefs and ideas, and that they are reflected back to us by our mirror. Our mirror shows us up for who we are. There is no hiding from our own mirror. And we recognize that when this card comes to us, we are invited to take some time to understand who we are right now, right in this minute. There is beauty within us. There is challenge within us. There is darkness within us. There's light within us. There's expansion possibilities within us and contraction. I don't know who told people that it is always about expansion. It is very possible. And in COVID, there were many, many people who retracted again, who turned inwards again, who turned away from the others. When we take an inventory of our life, when we take note of all that we have experienced, of all that we have learned, of all the challenges that we have overcome, of all the strength we have developed, and the lessons we have learned, then we understand ourselves much better. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Could we do better? Would it be possible to expand and embrace what is difficult in us and in others even more? And that is the bit. When we offer ourselves approval, when we give ourselves credit, we can see ourselves clearer. So my last card is in the center. And my center, as far as I'm concerned, is with my spirit. And my center card is a card that I often don't like very much, and it has to do with the Lord. Now, as I am a goddess girl, the God, the Lord, yes, our Caradwen has her Tegid, and yes, men are important, and yes, men are very easy to support us. Been married 40 years, I know what I'm talking about. But it is that challenge within of accepting the masculinity within us, and often in women, the toxic masculinity. It's not that easy. So, what does it say to me? You must take charge with authority. And this is something that I have really tried to push back on. I used to have authority in my old job. I was a manager, I was a director, and I hated having to push people and bully them into doing things that, the company demanded from us. So when I left that behind some 12 years ago, I didn't ever want to do that again, take charge with authority. I never wanted to take charge again. And yet, Caradwen tells me that the way that things are, we must take charge and not be afraid to do so, and use the voice that we have been given, and be strong. Be strong, put our heads over the parapet. Even if they shoot it off, it is still important that we are there. Now, I'm a speaker in the Goddess Conference that is coming up in July and August. And part of that is the topic of sacred union. And the sacred union between my beloved goddess Caradwen and her consort Tegid is going to be my topic. But actually, one of the things that I would like to say is that we are the consort of the lady. We are the sacred masculinity that is holding her realm in our hands, protecting it, looking after it, especially out here in the world. You have to understand that when you step forward as a priestess, and it is your everyday toil and work and joy to be a priestess of a goddess in Avalon, that you are standing out, that you are making yourself seen, whether that is on Facebook or whether that is in person. Even when you're not feeling the thing, even if you're walking up the high street and all you want to do is get a bit of shopping in and you look a bit messy and you're a little bit... people still expect you to be the person that they see in the beautiful gowns with the headdresses and everything, dispensing good advice, healing, seership. So that is our job, that is our life, that is our devotion to the goddess, that we are always consort. And that is the authoritative part of us that isn't afraid to say what's right, what's wrong, to lay down the law. It doesn't mean that we're angry or aggressive, and I have on occasion been told that I am aggressive, and I probably am at times. But it is the feeling of self-possession, that we are reliable and ambitious. You see, ambitious is very, very negative these days. To be ambitious is wrong. People don't want us to be a bit ambitious. They say that you should just let it flow and not push for anything. I love my blackthorn staff. It is a gift that I got given from nature some 15 years ago. And in this picture, the Lord holds his staff and he wears a crown of antlers, showing that he is connected with all nature around him and that he is protective of his people. Now, I will say in that the Lord and I agree. I protect the kin. I am the kin's protector, guardian, and I try and guide them to the best of my ability. But I sometimes feel my humanity. I sometimes feel that, some person gets on my nerves, another person won't listen to me, and I know that they are going to fall again and they're going to hurt themselves again, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. The sensitivities that we hold towards people who are less fortunate than us stands us in good stead. Sometimes when we have to take control in order that the agreements that we have with the goddess are all honored is important. Sometimes when we feel that our gifts and kindnesses are being taken for granted, it's time to change that. I'm always up for looking after people. I'm always up for looking after everybody. But then I do that and I give my energy for nothing. And sometimes people don't appreciate it if you give your energy for nothing. They don't value what you've given them. It's not like the old days where people used to sit at the feet of the teachers and hang on their every word and did what they were asked to do. I was like that when I first started some 30 years ago. And my teacher, she would have been horrified when she sees some of the things that are going on in the community that we both serve. When the ancestors are encouraging us to hold our ground and speak our mind, they do so saying that it has to be in a loving way, that we have the energy and that we do not get involved with dramas, that we are not getting involved with energies that aren't working for our growth, and that it is time to say no. And it's time to lead others to say no when the situation in which we find ourselves isn't conducive to the highest good. Sometimes we are being encouraged to be the boss. And as women, we have always said that we should be seen but not heard. Well, in this instant, with this reading, with this seership, one of the things that it says right loud and clear, no matter how much you struggle with it, no matter how much you want to say no, in the end, you are the one that guides and brings people forward, brings people into the energy of the goddess, brings people to see their own potential, to move upwards into her love. Sometimes you have to say yes. I hope that this little reading has given you as much joy as it has given me, and blessed be.